key senators on both sides of the aisle. So what will she have to do to sway her harshest critics after her controversial comment about race? Well, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham says apologize.
It is troubling, and it's inappropriate, and I hope she'll apologize. And if I had said something like that, or someone with my background and profile, we wouldn't be talking about this nomination going forward.
All right, so will Judge Sotomayor apologize? Should she apologize?
Yeah, we want to know what you think, so we want to ask you to Twitter us at twitter.com/Julie Banderas or twitter.com/Greg Jarrett. I already got a couple. Larry Sinclair writes, no, Sotomayor should not apologize because it would just be a lie.
All right, well, let's put the question to our next guests. California Representative Darrell Issa. He is on the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and Maryland Representative Dutch Ruppersberger. He is on the House Appropriations Committee. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us. Congressman Issa, do you think Judge Sotomayor's statement that a Latina woman has superior judicial wisdom than a white male is evidence of racial and gender bias that now merits an apology?
Well, I think that if you look at the actual quote, it's a little more complex and nuanced than that. Certainly it reflects a pride in being a Latina woman that is not inappropriate, but as you go through the entire 2 paragraphs in her speech, it begs the question of, is she bringing that in order to make a decision, or is she simply proud of being a Latina and having a tremendous record on the bench, but plans to make her decisions in the way that is required of a justice which is constitutionally and by the law, not by your life experience?
Congressman Ruppersberger, even an apology is not going to erase Sotomayor's recent dismissal of a reverse discrimination case that has prompted even liberal members of her own court to criticize her. Does the Ritchie firefighters case demonstrate that she may decide future cases, at least in part based on race, and isn't that wrong?
Well, I think what we're doing here is that we need to look at the whole concept, the whole procedure that we're going through. This statement about being Latino and being a better judge, I want to see more about it. I want to see what context it was put out there. Also, as far as whether or not a ruling that she made, of all the rulings that she's had on the bench in the last 17 years, we have to look at each one. But specifically, the firefighter ruling, she was a 3-judge panel. There was a 1-page opinion that upheld the lower court's decision. So I want the senators, which we have this process, to look at the whole process. You know, she was an individual who was appointed by a Republican president and then to the appeals court by a Democratic president. That seems to me someone that's pretty balanced.
Yeah, Congressman Issa, the president nominated, he said he wanted a nominee with empathy. And I take it from your earlier comment that, you know, you agree that empathy is really the antithesis of a justice's duty to decide cases impartially. Do you think the president meant empathy for minority litigants and antipathy for white litigants?
Well, I think the president is showing that he considered ideology something for which he could vote no when he was a senator and something for which he can nominate now that he's the president. But I think you said it exactly right in paraphrasing me. Empathy is a problem because we want people to bring wisdom and experience to the office, but then we want them to look at the law and the Constitution as a justice of the Supreme Court, and only the law and the Constitution, not in fact their empathy. So it's that fine line between we want the experience, but we also want the even-handed understanding that they do not make law, they simply exercise the constitutional obligation.
Congressman Ruppersberger, in his campaign, the president sought to transcend identity politics. Yet, you know, the other day when he introduced Sotomayor as his nominee, it was all about her racial and cultural identity. Does his selection belie his campaign promises?
No, I don't think so at all. I think what he is attempting to do is to pick an individual who is very smart, that is impartial, and that will seek justice. I think when you look at an individual who has come from a very poor background, unfortunately in a difficult situation, that has pulled herself up, going to Princeton and then Yale Law School, and then also what I like about her is she was a prosecutor. And she was a prosecutor and then left that job and became a corporate litigator, which gives her a lot of experience. I think what the president is really doing is saying, I'm picking someone that has a lot of experience in a lot of different areas, but a person who has a record. I have not seen, and I've been following this just as most people have, and in some research through my staff, I have not seen any major decisions where I feel that she has gone too far left or too far right.
You don't think her Second Amendment decision, which essentially said, you know, the Second Amendment right to bear arms doesn't apply to states, you don't think that goes one way versus the other?
She is trying to balance the facts as she sees it, and from her education, she is not an individual who spent all of their time in a law library or being a professor. She is looking she is a part of her life experience, but when it comes time for her to be a judge and to render decisions, from what I have seen so far, she is looking at the facts, and then she is deciding what she feels the law is pursuant to the Constitution.
All right, gentlemen, I'm afraid we're out of time. Congressman Issa, Congressman Ruppersberger, gentlemen, thank you both.
All right, a lot of tweets on this.